conversation with some fascinating ladies who've changed the game in the world of video, music, and gaming. Only on Hungama's Women Game Changers podcast.
Hi, welcome to Hungama Game Changers 2026, where we talk to women in making changes in communities, culture, and content. Today's guest is someone who's built not just one, but many communities. And I think the community and the network part of her journey has been the most interesting for us as we evaluated this process. She started the Pinwheel Project for parents. She started the Rainmakers Consult as a consultancy, but also as a network that she has with women founders. She's also worn many hats and changed many roles, from law to fashion to entrepreneurship, professional to founder, mother to mentor. And I think Shouger Merchant Doshi.
Shouger Merchant Doshi.
Shouger Merchant Doshi mostly embodies something that all women know, that you are wearing many hats, sometimes concurrently, and doing them all well. Thank you so much for being here, Shouger.
Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Okay, I'm gonna start by the many hats that you wear, I think, concurrently and consecutively. You have been a lawyer, then a designer. You have spent time building communities, then an author. Then you have set up your own company, which started with 2 people and is now over 60. Tell me, do you think in a woman's journey, there's a lot of shape-shifting?
I think so. I mean, some of this, obviously, I still run Pinwheel Project. We're in our 10th year. I'm obviously very, very heavily, my day business is Rainmaker Consults, and we're a full service PR marketing agency, which means we don't sleep and we're constantly working. And obviously I'm a mother, and that's an evergreen role and hopefully my best role ever. But I wanted to be a lawyer. I studied, practiced abroad, all of that. And I felt that when I moved back to India, I was in the US for 10 years. When I moved back to India, I felt like the way the process was here wasn't very conducive to me wanting to start a family. And the way the legal process works, so it wasn't a conscious decision. It just was kind of organic, because the way the legal process works here is if you're in litigation, you're working in court from 11 to 5, court shuts by 5:30, you start briefing for the next day. You're not running home till 9. At the earliest, maybe on a good day, 7:30. But to me, it was just that when I was thinking of having a family, I said, if I don't see my child all day and my child sleeps at 7:30 every day, it's just not a conducive career for me, especially when your child is a newborn, you want to be around.
Absolutely, and I think this is a challenge a lot of women.
And it's a challenge a lot of lawyers, female lawyers do have. They take a break for a couple of years, they come back, and it's a difficult process to even enter back. So I just decided clean break at that time, and I got pregnant and I said, I'm going to take a break from this. And I loved it. It's not that I didn't love it. I think I was a good lawyer and I enjoyed the process of it. But, and I do think that the profession has so much to offer. It's just very disorganized the way it is in India compared to what I was used to in the US, which was a very organized way of working. If your call time in court is 11:30, you will be out of there by 12. Here, you're waiting for your matter to come up, and anybody who has any case in court knows this. You have no idea whether it's coming. If they say Monday, you have no idea if it's going to come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or the next Monday, or the next year. So there's no organization in the process, which I think where the court system is severely lacking. And that was one of the main reasons why I said, clean break, let's invest in a business. Because I grew up seeing my dad. He basically raised a business from, again, 2 people to 500. So to me, it was like, and I saw hard work. And every day he would tell me, he was like, there's only one formula for success, and it is hard work. Yeah. There is no substitution for this.
No shortcuts.
And no shortcuts. And you just have to burn the midnight oil. You got to work really hard. And you got to love what you're doing. If you don't love it, it's not going to work. So I said, I want to do something. I want to build something of my own. And design happened. It was an investment in a a design firm and sort of happened very organically. And that was my first business. I went on to many more, but that was my first. So it was like, my first baby before I had my son. So that was a great like investment to make. And it didn't really pan out because I think in a year I got pregnant, and then I just kind of took a step back from that, reevaluated, started Pinwheel project when my son was born. So that kind of happened. And with Pinwheel, it's kind of a marketplace where we have, about 100, 150 brands in the kids space, parenting space only, come in and sell their products or talk about their services. So it's kind of a touch and feel. What happened is when we had our kids 11 years ago, there was no Hamleys. There was nothing but Mother Care and a Just Moms, which is like a small store in Reach Candy, or like a Kamdenu, which is again a small store where you could buy stuff. So if you wanted to order things, you'd have these homegrown vendors doing things from their homes that you never knew about. So we said, let's give them a marketplace. So we'd have your brands like Sebamed and Cetaphil and Pampers taking part, but we would also have 100 brands that you may or may not have heard of, but have great quality products. So we wanted people to like see this. And that's where Rainmaker came about, because all of these vendors came to me and said, oh, can I pick your brain? Like, you're marketing so well. Can you help me market my brand? And I said, sure, I'll help you. And I just do coffee with them. And finally, my friend said, listen, you've got to start charging for this. You can't do this for free forever. And I said, I love it. I love being a part of the startup story. And if they need my help, I'm happy to like, connect them to people or help them with whatever they need. So finally, I took the leap. And in 2019, I started Rainmaker. So yes, to answer your question, long-winded answer, but to answer your question, I do feel like you can have a shift in what you're doing. I don't think that you need to do one thing forever. And I think it takes time to find that thing. Like, entrepreneurs on an average start 10 businesses before the 11th one is really successful, right? So I feel like my journey was my journey, and obviously it's specific to me, but everything taught me something. Like, I learned what not to do with my first ever business. I learned so much of legal compliance that I need to do now. And in every part of my life, my law degree helps me so much. So I just feel like everything that you do, it's a learning process. You have something great to take, from everything, and you can shape shift and you can decide your own path. And you'll eventually realize that when your personality, your job, and your life are finally aligned, it makes sense to you.
Tell me, one of the things that you did very early on was understand the power of community. Because that was before it became cool to talk about community to commerce kind of conversation. What do you believe were you seeing as early trends that you thought a community would come together and actually lead to adequate commerce to run the Pinwheel project?
See, there was no thought behind it, to be very honest with you.
I love that. That's very honest.
There was no thought behind it. I have never been that kind of a person to strategically align things for myself. I have always been extremely social. When I was growing up, everybody would be like, okay, she's just going to know everybody. We don't want to walk into a party with her. She's going to talk to everyone. It's still the case. I know everybody and I love knowing everybody and I want to know everybody. So I was just that social person. So people would come to me saying, can you connect me to so-and-so? And I'd be like, of course. And then finally I realized that that's what's lacking, right? So the reason Rainmaker came about, and a lot of people say, oh, you have so many connections because you run a PR agency. No, I run a PR agency because I have those connections. I didn't come into it and then build my connections. I've had them from the time I was a child, and I was a very social child. So it kind of helped, I suppose, build those contacts, connections. And today, if I need to make a call, I can pick up the phone and, make a call and ask for a favor. I'm not, I don't have any issues with doing that, and calling a friend that I haven't seen in 10 years and say, listen, I need to do this for a brand. Is this something that you're interested in? So I don't think like community as a whole, yes, it's important, but there was no like foresight to it because it happened so early in my life. I was just always socializing. Somehow I happened to be around people who also ended up doing really great things with their lives. So it just kind of worked out that today I can just, kind of put people together, connect them, or call somebody and get them to hear me out on an idea that a brand wants to do, or maybe do a collaboration or connect them to someone where it works as a fruitful collaboration. I've done lots of that, but it didn't come about with any serious strategy of, oh, I need to align with this person or I need to get these people together. No, it's just who I am, and I enjoy that. Like, I love putting people together, or like, just like if someone says, okay, I really need this to happen, I'd be like, I can make this happen. Even though I don't know how, I'll make it happen. Maybe 6 calls need to be made.
Actually, I'm going to ask you about that. A big part of your role today is to be deeply invested in somebody else's success.
Yeah.
How does that happen? And how do you kind of get motivated? Is that something you are very clear about even when you're choosing your clients?
So actually, 2 things. One is you either love the product or you love the founder. That has to be, there has to be some kind of a
synergy,
fit that you have. Yeah, synergy, a bond, some kind of chemistry that you have. Either you really love the product, like I have some great products that I'm obsessed with that I use in my day to day. Then there are some other products or services or restaurants that we manage that I'm not going to end up going to, but I really like the founders. I like their ideology and I connect with them. But I have this thing where I just feel like any brand we take on, it has to feel like ours. There has to be something that we connect with. You see, at the end of the day, obviously, when we started out and we were like 2 and 5 people, as you mentioned, working in an extra flat that I had, not even a proper office, we took all the brands that came to us. But as you grow, and now we're in our 7th year, we're still young for a PR agency, so we're anywhere where we need to be. But as you grow, you can be more picky about what work you want to take on. And that's the beauty of the industry, right? You don't have to take on everything that comes to you. We say no to a lot of brands. We say no to what doesn't align with us, not necessarily from a mindset point of view, but just if we really feel like, listen, it's a really good idea, but we just don't think we're the right fit for you, and we're not going to be able to put this out in the way that you want it put out, and our kind of contacts, our communities, our strength doesn't align with what you want, we say no. But I feel strongly about every brand. I feel in some way strongly about every single brand. And the team, it's really important for the team to like the brand too. And we always do a discussion before we onboard a client. And I think there has to be a connect, either to the product, the founder, the goal.
So that you can also passionately care about
you have to. Yeah.
Tell me, one of the things that PR has changed so much, right? I mean, even in the period that you've been in it, and certainly from the time that you actually came into just the professional world outside of law. What is PR today?
Today, PR is kind of an amalgamation of everything. So it's your contacts and connections, it's the media, it's the new age media, the blogs, it's the PAPs, it's everything. It's gifting, it's an H&I community, it's a Masi community, if that's how your product falls in. It's the celebrities, it's the influencers. It involves so much today. It's not limited to pre-COVID, it was radio. Now today, podcast is such a big medium for PR as well. It was radio. It was, pre-COVID, it was very limited to print media, a little bit of digital media. Online hadn't exploded like it has in the last 5 years.
Certainly not this influencer community or the collaborations.
Yeah, and today I think there's a lot of looking for key opinion leaders on the gram and on TikTok and on YouTube to kind of tell the story rather than media telling the story. Because today media has also changed over the last 6 years since COVID, right? It's become more paid. There's so much, that you need to do. And obviously for media houses to survive, it's been a task, right? Yeah. There's so many of them that didn't make it post-COVID and then kind of shut down. And so many of them exited the country. So many of them have now come back with new ownership. So there's so much that's happened in the media space. It's evolved. It's changed so much that sometimes to tell a brand story, coverage is great. I mean, it's the holy grail. Everybody wants to be talked about in the media. But you also need the onlines. You also need the blogs. You also need the influencers. You need organic traction. You need your social media page to do well. There's 100 things that are required
for
today.
A young founder starting out today, how do you balance all of the above in a budget that you think is fair, but it seems like the list is endless,
It's
right?
endless.
Because you do also have to do PR, you have to do your social media, you're doing collabs, you're also trying to think about your conversion to commerce.
Yeah.
So
It's a
how
lot.
would you kind of prioritize for a young founder or somebody even trying to make it? Because I find today people are their own personal brand, and a lot of people are investing in that
Heavily in
personal
founder PR,
brand. It could be, it could be founder PR. It could be just because they are becoming voices, influencers, building their own communities. How do you prioritize?
I think it has to be kind of customized per brand, and it has to be dependent on what people are doing in the category, right? Because you always want to look at case studies and see how brands have built themselves within that category, what has worked, what hasn't worked. So the same strategy can't be applied to a beauty brand that works for fashion. It can't be applied to FMCG or tomorrow fitness or a protein brand. Every strategy has to be inbuilt, and also the story of the brand has to be specific to what that brand stands for. So every strategy has to be tailor-made, but you're right, there is a lot that needs to be taken into consideration. I think today founders are very smart. If you're launching a brand in 2026, you are incredibly smart because you have to take into consideration 500 things. And you know about it from now. People who launched their businesses in 2020 and 2021, we were figuring it out as we went along. Because there was no blueprint, there was no definitive, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this. Now, today, they're very smart. And thanks to Gen Z out there that's like out on social media every single day, putting themselves out there, there's so much information, right, that you're being given as a new founder. So I think they're smart. They know what they want. They know where they want to put their money. You also have to kind of defer to them when it comes to budgets, because I can't be telling any brand that you need to put X amount of money into your company. That's sort of where they lead us. And then within the stipulated budget, we tell them what we can and can't do and how we pace it out. Everything doesn't have to be done in the first 3 months. It's a slow process. You don't build a brand in 3 months. People come to us and they're like, so we do everything. We go all out strategy in 3 months and then we're done. And I'm just like, if everyone could build a brand in 3 months, then everybody would be where they, like the next XYZ top brand in the country, right? Like in your specific field. But that's not how it works. So it's a continuous, slow sustenance. There's so much that needs to be done, through the process of building a brand. And it takes a couple of years. Nothing happens overnight. Sometimes brands get a celebrity on board and then there's an accelerator with the growth, and then you want to put all your budgets to it and you want to really like accelerate for the first year because you have celeb power on your side and you know that the traction that you're getting from them helps. We have a lot of those that we work with, like a lot of celebrity invested brands or backed brands, which then works because you're putting the budgets, but you also have the celebrity kind of pushing it from their angle. So from that, the strategy is so custom made depending on what that brand is, what that specific story is, who is the investor, who is the founder. Is the founder someone who loves being in front of the camera? Because then everyone today wants to know who owns what brand. If there's a new brand launching, but who's the owner? And then the credibility is coming from the founder today. So if you're launching something, say in the nutraceutical space, like a gummy, they want to know who this owner is. What is your story? Why should I trust you with, my nutrition with you? Mm-hmm. So there's that whole element of, the founder PR as well. So there's so many angles that you can leverage.
Absolutely.
It depends on who they are.
What you guys did with, I know Ranveer and Super You was a great fit because it was that increased protein.
A perfect fit.
And, your sort of, and I think the marketing and communications and PR went really well together because I think the distribution team was also really active.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, you're seeing it at Starbucks and that's a great collab.
Super You has built itself really, really well. I think that Ranveer is such a good fit, right, for Super You. Look at the branding, look at the way it speaks, right? It's fully Ranveer Singh. And in the same vein, like we launched Glen Walk with Sanjay Dutt.
Right.
Same, just perfect fit. And it's done incredibly well. Numbers are insane. I think it's like a case study of how well they've done within a short 1 year, 1.5 years. So there's so many where that it's the right fit. And then there are so many where it goes wrong because it's just not the right fit.
Yeah.
So there has to be a story. You have to have that fit. If that fit is not there, then the story falls flat, then the strategy is it's just, it falls
doesn't.
apart.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In fact, one of the things that I find today is that a lot of people are going back to their consumer marketing insights and then build with creative people, as opposed to just the brand side of it, to say, all right, this is what it's going to be, so that
Yes.
the narrative starts really right at the point of talking to consumers.
But that's why I'm saying all these founders now are getting very smart. There's so much consumer behavior insight, and retail has changed so much in the last 5 years post-COVID. And that insight is available. There's reports, there's case studies, there's
your own social media accounts and campaigns.
There's so much, and content creators are talking about it. You have 100 marketing pages today on the gram where you can consume this content and you know exactly what the trends are like, what the strategy that worked for XYZ brand that you can potentially replicate for your brand in another field. So there's so much insight today that founders today are smart. They know exactly where they want to put their money. It's really great to work with them.
Since you've talked about so much content out there, and there is, how do you keep yourself extremely on the cutting edge? Because you really need to know now, and you need to know 3 months later also, probably.
Yeah.
So how do you constantly read? Are there white papers?
Yeah.
How are you keep upskilling yourself?
We do have like a team in the office that kind of like culls through the news every single day. I mean, obviously we're in PR. We all read the news.
Right.
We have to. We have no choice. And we read all the magazines. We read all the blogs, everything that's out there. But we also have a team that kind of pulls it out for us, flags things that are relevant to our categories that someone might have missed. So to kind of bring us up to speed and tell us that, listen, this happened, or this collaboration happened between X brand and Y brand, and we think this is such a cool idea. Why don't we try and talk to the same brand and see if they want to integrate with a different product of ours? So even launches, we need to know what's happening everywhere in the world so that we can be on top of our game and, sort of use that content to either our advantage or spin it in some way for a brand that we have. Like, for example, if the AP Swatch, which was the most talked about collaboration, just happened, right? Now we have another watch, like a brand where we could potentially, like, obviously we're not collaborating with an AP, but we want to like do something where a pocket watch or something could be, like the new thing, because now that's what Swatch has brought into this world, right? So something like that along those lines, if we want to just do a limited collab or do a drop somehow. So everything needs to be told to us and we need to know every single thing. So it is hard to be on top of it. Sometimes you miss and sometimes you don't. But I have a team that has to do that because we won't. Otherwise, you can't keep track of every single thing. There's things happening every day.
So one of the things that you have said before is you've talked about an aversion to mediocrity. And that's where the genesis of Rainmaker also happened. Is that something you want to talk about? What was that moment that actually sort of meant that, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it better and I'm going to do it myself?
So, I mean, again, I don't think it was a long drawn out thought process to it, but it was when I was growing up, my dad would constantly tell me, because as I said, he built a business from, again, 5 people to 500. And I always loved watching him work because it was like so inspiring to me that, he ran this company and it was just really inspiring. So I would always ask him and he would repeatedly tell me that, listen, hard work is all you need. It is the be all and end all of life. And you can't, like, every time you're scaling, if you're going to be, you either small where nobody cares about you and the stakes are really low and you can take risks and fail and no one's going to bother about you, or you're really large where then everything is, you got to be very mindful because it comes with a certain amount of responsibility. If you're in the middle, it's just mediocrity and no one cares about you. So in my head, it was always like, if I do something, I just have to be the best at what I do. And I'm not comparing myself to others. It's just the best that I can possibly give. And I'm always in my own lane. I don't look left, right, like just focusing laser vision on what we can do and what I can do specifically, like what I can do with the company. I'm not looking at, 100 other companies who are way, way ahead of us, who've been there 25, 30 years and have, huger, larger sort of teams, etc. And I'm not looking at the ones who are smaller than us, who started maybe after us or before us. But in my thing, I just said that in whatever I do, whether it was being a lawyer or whatever I want to do with my life, I dislike mediocrity. Like, I want to be in the top league where it's not number driven. I don't know if that makes sense. It's not monetarily driven. It's not about numbers. It should be, but it's not. It's more about just being known as an agency to reckon with.
Tell me this mindset, and I see it in a lot of women professionals, this need... I think we tend to put a lot more pressure on ourselves to be perfect in everything. Do you think it's encouraging or do you think it's exhausting?
Can be a bit of both. I mean, I have to be honest, it has to be a bit of both, because encouragement can only take you so far. Then when you put the work into it, it's going to be exhausting. But I mean, you have to find a way to balance it all. If you're going to drown yourself in it and say, listen, now I can't be mediocre, I have to be the best and I have to beat XYZ agency, that's not the productive way to look at it. But if you're going to say, listen, I've given it my all, I've received what I want to receive from it, and I'm happy with the clients that have come to me and the work that I've done for them, and my team is happy, and we're at a place where we're kind of, sort of made peace with where we are. And of course, you always strive for more, but you've also got to just be happy with where you're getting. And there is going to be a fair amount of exhaustion. And I think that's with anyone building any company. You're going to burn out. You're going to burn the midnight oil. You got to put in all that effort in the first 5 to 10 years to really get your business to scale. And then you can set back a little bit and be like, okay, I've done everything. Now, hopefully this is, going to take forward.
Okay. Tell me this, and I'm going to come back to this aversion to mediocrity, because I find it fascinating, because I find it like a catch-22 situation. Does it come from fear or ambition?
Ambition. Not
so
fear.
You don't have that. Tell me about self-doubt. I mean, is that something that you live with? And, I know that, we talked about imposter syndrome, and you're fortunate to be in an industry where women really
very
are
women-led,
leading. Yes. But, talk to me about
there's
self-doubt.
Always self-doubt. I mean, you can't, anything that you're building, you're going to be like, what if I fail? What if, my idea doesn't take fruition? What if I'm wrong about the strategy? What if I'm putting money, time, effort, blood, sweat, tears behind something that may not work? So there's always self-doubt, but it propels you because it makes you do your research. It makes you talk to people. I have zero qualms about asking for help. I'm very okay. I know a lot of people don't do that. I'm very okay to pick up a phone and be like, hey, you did this. I really liked how you did it. I want to do something similar. Can you give me some advice? I have no problem with that. And I think I've also built great relationships where I can pick up the phone on people and they will help me out. And there will be people who don't want to help you out. That's also fine. But I'm okay to ask and be like, I really want to do this. It's for my client and I want to try something new and I don't want to fail. So I want to ask your opinion before. And I can ask somebody who's in a completely different industry, someone who's done something tangential to it. But I have no problem doing that. So there will always be self-doubt. But I think there's ways to... You have to have confidence. Entrepreneurs are crazy people. You have insane amounts of confidence. Like you feel like every day something's coming at you and you're dodging it. And we're all built crazy. And if you're like this, you will have self-doubt, but you will come out the other side. Even when you think, something's going to not work out, you will still come out the other side because you have this insane backing and confidence in your mind that I will make it no matter what.
Like a mantra, it goes on.
Yeah. Mediocrity is not okay. So let's just keep going.
Okay. You talked about, being able to pick up the phone and talk to people. And we talked about this a little bit before we sat down for the podcast as well. Talk to me about the importance of the network.
Yeah. So I think women, we also spoke about this, women are kind of they're powerhouses, right? They're building, they're doing so much. I mean, there's just in a day what we can accomplish between running a house and family and kids and school and play dates. And that's just one sector of things. And then you go into work, right? And you have 500 things coming at you there. So I just feel like women are powerhouses. They can do so much, but not always willing to collaborate and not always willing to help. I've met some fabulous women who in the industry, not in the industry, but are willing to collaborate, and you can pick up the phone and they're kind of my community, because I'll call them and be like, listen, I need help with this. Do you think you could, help me, or share a contact with who I can get in touch with? Or listen, I want to do this collab. Do you have a client that we can maybe work on together? But then there's also women who are not receptive to that, and they treat you as competition. And for me, I just feel like if my friends or peers are doing well, I'm really happy and glad. And I'm really like, I feel I'm special because they're doing well in their lives. So I don't have this jealousy or this inherent like self-doubt when it comes to other women. I genuinely feel like as women founders, we should all be propelling each other. We all know what we go through on the daily, right?
Yes.
So we should be lifting each other up. And just because one person's doing well doesn't mean I can't do well. There is enough to go around for every agency founder in the PR space. There's tons of clients. There's people calling every day. If they're not calling, you're going to eventually meet them somewhere, or they're going to hear from someone, you did great work on XYZ brand. Please come on board for me. There's enough work to go around. What's not enough to go around is your reputation. So we work very hard to make sure that while we're working on a client, and clients leave, they're not always going to be with you. It's cyclical. You don't need PR for the whole life of your brand. You may take a break after 2 years. You may take a break after 5 years. You may choose a different direction. You may take a break from PR altogether and be like, okay, I got all the news I wanted. Now I'm going to take a break for a year. Maybe I'll come back when I have something new to talk about. So when a client is with you, I just want them to know that we've done our best and to leave them in a better state than when they walked into my door. That is the goal. The reputation that we uphold, or we try to uphold, is literally that when you come to us, we want to leave you better than when you first entered here. And we tried our best. We did everything that we could, and we didn't leave a stone unturned. And we got you visibility. We got you, traction. Our strategy worked. Didn't work. I mean, everything, it's cyclical. So whatever worked, worked. Whatever didn't have to work, didn't work. But we did everything that we could. But I feel like I'm not taking away from what other people do. And I'm not looking at what other people do. I'm just laser focused on working on my clients. But some women tend to think that, okay, if she got this client and I didn't get this client, so we're not going to really work with her. So there is a little bit of that in the industry. It's small. It's not like all of them are like this, but it does exist. Some women don't want to always help others, and they have their own insecurities. But I do feel like by and large, it's a collaborative world. People want to collaborate, especially post-COVID. This has changed a lot. Women are coming up to us saying, listen, we want to work with this, and it's so easy to get along with women who are going through exactly what you're going through.
Yeah. Actually,
and it's literally therapeutic to meet with other agency owners who are going through exactly what I'm going through.
And then you don't feel like you're the only one who feels like she's running around chasing her own tail.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have so many touch points that you can talk about that only they can understand, right? And they're all female-led. Today, a lot of the boutique agencies, they're all female-led. Even the big ones are all female-led. There's female partners, at least one or two, amongst maybe a few males, but more or less, they're all female-led. So we have so much in common because we're all raising families, kids, babies, especially the younger ones, and doing this at the same time. It's a lot. So when you have someone to bounce off of, it's kind of nice and it's therapeutic. It's like your own kind of therapy. But I do believe that in general, not just in this industry of PR, but in general, women are open to collaborate, but if they perceive you as a threat, then they're not so willing to kind of come forward. You have to break the ice and then, it smooths over. But like I said, I have no ego or qualms, and I just feel like you work with people, you get good energy and you want to work. You don't get good energy, you don't
some
work.
of it is narratives that we've built in our heads. I find that and I tell this to a lot of the youngsters, I teach a class at SPGN as well
Yes.
And over there also I tell them that 9 out of 10 times, if you reach out to someone, message them even on LinkedIn, and especially for women, 9 out of 10 times, the person you're hoping will mentor you will respond.
Yes.
Will give you those 15 minutes. And I think, but I find that a lot more of the young men will reach out than the young women, because I think they feel like, oh, I need to, okay, first let me sort this out. Let me get this in place before I reach out, before I take advice. I should first do so much of it myself. So I think we do put a lot more pressure on ourselves, because so that we are taken seriously. And I think that's probably generational as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think women, as like I said, it's very specific to different industries. In ours, it's not like that. Everybody wants to collaborate. You win if your client's winning. So you have to kind of, put your egos aside and make that call if you have an ego or a problem with that person. For me, I don't look at it like that. I just feel like if it's a win for my client, I'm going to make the call. I have no qualms about picking up the phone. Even with somebody who maybe doesn't or has badmouthed the agency at some point, I have no problem. And I just feel like more women should be like that, because
that's a great leadership
you
lesson.
Just listen, it's okay, it's fine. We're all in business. Maybe when you're talking about it, it's business led, it's not personal. Right. So I just feel like personally, you should not have an issue.
Okay. Tell me about the network that you run, the RNC.
Yeah. So we basically in 2021, when lockdown upon lockdown was happening, and in 2021 we actually in COVID helped our agency pivot a lot, because we started in 2019. We started with a bootcamp model where you come to us if you're a startup or you're launching a new product or you're in that mid-level stage, and we do a whole thorough analysis and we give you like exactly a roadmap of what you need to do. And it was a one-time activation. It wasn't an agency model. Slowly we pivoted to an agency model, and then lockdown started. So we were like in the middle of this, not knowing what we should do and how we should do it. And we pivoted very quickly to influencers, because if you see, the birth of the major community of influencers started around COVID in India. Of course, it was prevalent all over the world, but a lot of it started in India around COVID in 2020. So when we realized that these key opinion leaders are on the gram, they're sitting at home, let's send them product, let's send them services, let's talk to them about our product, because traditional media was on a standstill a lot of the time. Of course, digital media was always on, but traditional print media was up and down given lockdowns. So we said, let's go the influencer route. Let's talk to these influencers. Let's know everything that we need to about them, and let's create something called the RMC Club, the Rainmaker Consults Club, which is basically a network. It's, we basically broke it down because we have brands in our teams. We have an entertainment team. We have a beauty, fashion, lifestyle team. We have an FMCG, F&B team, and we have our corporate team. So we kind of divided our brands like that. So if I have a child-led, parent-led product that's just wants to promote only to mothers, then I would need my mommy bloggers. If I had an FMCG product, I would need my nutrition, fitness related, KOLs, physical trainers, bloggers, influencers, creators, anybody in the fitness, sort of realm. So we kind of broke it up citywide, and we started reaching out. We had a lot of time in COVID. So we reached out to all of these people across cities, all the metros, some tier 2 as well, and kind of created this database where we could reach out to these people, create a portal where we could communicate with them and be like, hey, we have this event coming up. Would you like to attend? Or we're doing a new menu in this restaurant in Bangalore. Would you like to come? Or we have these new beauty products. Can we send them to you? Will you do, some content for us? So that was kind of a really cool way, because we had a lot of downtime. So we said, how do we spend it wisely and build our database? And we kind of created this club. We did a lot of cool content that we shot for it, and it kind of went out there, and a lot of people signed up. And even just normal people, founders of companies, CEOs of companies who speak about brands or are a little more out there than others, because there are many who don't want to talk, publicly, but then there's so many who suddenly started talking about their brands during COVID. So even if they had like 4,000-5,000 followers, we didn't mind. We were very happy to kind of have them on board and send them our product. And like I said, founder PR has changed so dramatically that people wanted these CEOs and CXOs of companies also to talk about their products regardless of their following. Yeah. Exactly. And then there was the nano micro influencer boom that happened, where again, authenticity and, organic looking coverage of your product was more important than paying 10 lakhs to an A-grade influencer at that time, when, right around the lockdown time, around 2021, second lockdown. So when that happened, we realized that we need to be, sort of in integral communication with these people, and we need to have this database. And build relations with them, because it's not a one-time thing. You got to work on a relationship with anybody. So we worked on our relationships with them, and then we created the club. And now it's kind of like when brands come on board, we offer the club to them so that we can send out samples or goodies or invite them to an event, whether it's in Hyderabad, Bangalore, Delhi, Gurgaon, Bombay, wherever it may be.
Now tell me, you built the Pinwheel project, and then this club or community or whatever. You obviously see a lot of power in the community.
Yes.
How do you believe that women can, support women, sponsor women, mentor them, and also, shout out to allies and mentors that you may have had?
So, when I started out, I was working with, when I started Pinwheel project with my two partners, I do have two partners in Pinwheel. We didn't really have any mentors, and we didn't have anyone that kind of helped us with it. We did what we thought, because nobody was doing what we did. To put 150 brands into a hall and say, listen, come, it's a one-day exhibition and come and enjoy. And, we had 10,000 women come in. We didn't realize the power of what we were doing till now. We're in our 10th year, and now we see what we've built and, kind of appreciate it. But at the time we said, we'll just try it. It was more for us as being new parents, and just kind of try it out and see if it works. We wanted it more than, like, we were young parents. Like, our kids were just born. We said, we need this. So if we need it, other women need it. It was a gap in the market. And we didn't see anybody doing it to that scale. We were the first to do it to that scale. There were, of course, people doing smaller 10, 12 brands. But at that scale, we were the first to launch. So we said, let's just try it. And there's no harm, no foul. Let's try how it goes. But I do feel like, there's so much to be said about women who can help other women, especially new founders, startups. And we love doing that at RMC, right? That's what we do. We love the startup story. We love being part of the startup story. It's the most integral part, because when a brand is starting out, there's that excitement, there's that passion, there's that brainstorming, there's like, should I do this? But is this positioning right? Or do you think we should take this route? Is this my target audience? There's so much of a fleshing out of the brand identity that doesn't happen later. So that startup story is really exciting and fun for us. We love mentoring. We love being a part of that when we get those, women founders or male founders, doesn't matter. But of course, with the women founder, there's a little bit more of that insane connect, because I resonate with that. I was where they were, where they're now. I was there and have been there multiple times. Yeah. Still feel like I'm still there.
Correct. But never
still
stops.
Feel like, it never stops. But, the other day someone said something to me, and she was like, I said, I'm eating my lunch in the car. And she was like, you're a boss lady. I said, I don't feel like a boss lady. I feel like I'm eating lunch in my car. Like my lunch is cold. I'm eating it at 4:30 p.m. And she was like, okay. So no, it never feels like, you've made it or anything. There's a long way to go before that ever happens. But that's, being a part of that story is really interesting. And I feel a lot of women who kind of see and identify this, especially women who've achieved so much in their lives, notice this, and they do mentor and they do help. And I see that fraternity kind of changing. Like, a lot of women are happy to help, happy to mentor. You call them. And it's also about your persistence, right? Like you said, 9 out of 10 times, if you reach out, they will respond. You need to make that effort. If you want something in life, and I really believe this, that if you want something, you've got to ask for it. It's not coming itself walking to you.
A lady at a very senior woman at JPMC told my daughter, when she had finally given her some time to talk to her, she said, I only respond after I receive a third message.
But it's true.
And I thought that was such a great filter, because that first message is the day that you thought of it and you sent it to 25 people.
Yeah.
The second message was, should I, shouldn't I? Just a reminder. The third message is, I really want to have this conversation.
Yeah. And then the third message says, I want you. It's not, I want 30 people.
Yeah.
I want you. So it makes a lot of sense. That's actually a great filter. I
It
should
is a
adopt
great
that.
filter. I thought
We should all
so.
adopt that.
And when my daughter said this, I was just like, yeah.
Yeah, it makes
And
sense.
for a lot of people, they may not go back after not hearing back the first time. And that's where grit and persistence comes in. That's when you
100%.
said persistence, that
women have to learn this early in life, because I think women are a little, like, I don't know how to, Indian women are a little like timid and a little shy when it comes to asking for things or help to scale their businesses. They'll gladly ask where it's not concerning work, because for women, some women, I don't mean all women, of course, I'm not generalizing, but a lot of Indian women in business who are just starting out, they feel like business is side thing. It shouldn't be the main thing because the husband is the provider, especially if you're married. And so when you're starting your business, it will always be a secondary, not as important, sort of in your mind, families first.
like you mentioned, they also don't talk about money.
They don't talk about money. And it's a widely prevalent thing in especially our metro cities, Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, etc. If you meet a group of women, they'd be like, okay, this event is happening, or I just bought this handbag, or what are you wearing to so-and-so's party, or what is happening with the kids in school, or, something like that. They're not really, and even if they touch upon business, it's not the way men talk about business. They'll get together, they talk about the stock market, they talk about their latest investment. Do you think this is a good idea? I'm doing this at work. What do you think? Oh, I'll connect you to someone. Those conversations rarely happen with women, even women in really great, powerful roles, because when they meet women, it's also therapy. You want to let down your hair. You want to chat about other things. It's fine. But I feel like the business-led conversations take a side, a back seat, and then mentally they're taking a back seat, because then you're like, this isn't as important as my husband's business or as anyone else where it's male driven. And so this can't be the most important thing I do. I should be a mother and a wife first, which is a lot of women's mindset, which is fair. I mean, to each their own. I just feel like,
I don't think it's just mindset. I think it's also their reality.
Exactly. But if you're birthing a business, it has to be important to you.
No, I 100%. But I also feel that being successful professionally or being a consummate professional is not taking away from the fact that you also are expected to be this hostess with the mostest and the perfect mother.
Exactly.
Taking care of
and you
aging
can do it all.
Parents or in-laws, as the case may be. And the primary homemaker, and the invisible general manager of the house.
And
there's
500
no
other things that come
Yeah.
with it. Yeah. No, but I personally feel that it doesn't take away. I think I know a lot of women who are amazing at balancing everything. And today something else is getting my attention. Tomorrow something else will be the most important priority for that 1 hour or 2 hours. But at the back of my mind is always my son's schedule. In my head, as a mother, wherever I am, doesn't matter what I'm doing, at the back of my mind, it's always there that, okay, it's 12:30, he needs to go here. Okay, it's 1:30, I need to get him there. Has he had his lunch? Like, that's always, you're a parent, that's always going to be there. But you've also birthed a business. It's equally important.
Absolutely.
And you need to give it that time, especially if it's a startup. You need to give it that time, and you need to you need to give it your blood, sweat, and tears, as you do to everything else in your life, so that it takes off and, creates something that you can be proud of. And I think for me, especially, it gives me that joy that I have created this, and that this is, this is my thing, outside of just being a mom and a wife, or a daughter or a daughter-in-law, or all the other societal expectations that come with it. But this is something that's for my brain. That's how I look at it. I'm like, my brain needs an exercise, and this work that I do gives my brain that joy, and it gives me that personal fulfillment, that sense of fulfillment. And my life is only complete when I'm working. If I'm not working, I don't know what a great mother I would be, because I think I'm actually a paranoid mother. I would be 10x more paranoid if I was spending every waking moment with him. So for me, that's important.
I think towards the end, I think it's a great metaphor for what starting your own business, your career, your life in sort of in the working space is like birth, and you're going to have to deal with the growing pains that come with it, and
the stretch marks,
the time, and really they are battle scars.
Battle scars, absolutely.
Okay. What strikes me the most, I think, about what you've been able to accomplish is that you've built communities and networks, but also success for a lot of brands. And you've done that while constantly evolving in a very rapidly evolving ecosystem. Everything's changing, and it's changing every day for us. And I think what that reminded me was that success doesn't look like one thing. It really looks
100%.
like different things to different people. And I think that's the interesting thing, even when I was looking at the list of brands that you represent, is that you're able to separate that for each founder and each brand. I think that was Hungama Game Changers, celebrating women who are reshaping culture, conversation, and communities. This is Ronak, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
In conversation with some fascinating ladies who've changed the game in the world of video, music, and gaming. Only on Hungama's Women Game Changers podcast.